Here we go. Hi there. Welcome once again to Cast Iron Wednesday. I've been doing these YouTube live videos every Wednesday now for the last, I don't know, month, 2 months. And hey, as a matter of fact, we were not delayed this time. Hey, I actually managed to get my preps done in time and no other problems. And yeah, as the title of this video mentions, today is something of a personal anniversary for me here, in that this shows my geek probably better than anything else you could think of, when I consider this the 10th anniversary of the night that I cooked in a cast iron pan for the very first time, and yeah, things just took off from there. So as a result, because of this, of course, we are doing an anniversary steak, actually 2 steaks, cooked in cast iron, of course, and of course, along with steak, you have to have fries or potatoes to go with it. In this case, why not both? Yeah, in that I prepared some fries, or I'm about to prepare some fries, whereas on the other hand, Jamie, she wants baked potatoes. So the potatoes are baking in the oven right now, and I have my oil heated up to just around 300 degrees. That's because there is a trick to making really good fries. These are russet potatoes, and yes, that's only because I was out of yellow or Yukon Gold potatoes, but these should do all right. What you have to do first, of course, is soak these fries here in cold water for an hour or more, and then dry them off as best as you can. And I have certainly been doing that, so these things are ready. The other trick, of course, for making really good fries is to fry them twice. Namely, the first time, as I said, where the oil is only at about 300 degrees right now, and we're going to be giving them their first fry. We're going to be blanching them, in other words. So let's get started, and then I will go into some more details. In fact, I can just throw these things in. We only need to do this for a few minutes before we take them out, and then we will be putting them in again. So anyways, yes, as I mentioned already, this is, what can I say? As I said, December 16th, 2010, I did not expect this to be a day to change my life. All I expected to do was have some fun cooking a steak, and well, just that. It was a different kind of anniversary, in that I had just moved into an apartment and was living on my own for the very first time. And I had been in that apartment for a month, and boy, I was enjoying it. I was enjoying living by myself for the first time. And because of that, I just got the idea of cooking myself a 1-month anniversary steak. And so I set out to do something that I had never done before, which I had determined to make my mantra. I think I'd mentioned that before. Namely that my mantra really for the last 10 years now has been pretty much, if I find myself saying, I've never tried this before, then I have to give it a try. Now, one thing is that I could barely cook at that point. I was only just beginning to teach myself how to cook. I've been entirely self-taught really for the last 10 years. But I did have some people who influenced me. And that, I guess, is where this comes in. And that would be the story of my redneck pan. I think I've mentioned this once or twice, but here it is. Let me hold it this way, in fact. It's hot because I'm heating it up. This is, of course, a large 10-inch skillet. I received this as a wedding present back in 2002. Obviously, I remember the year I had gotten married at that time. And when we received this, we had never really done any major cooking for ourselves, and that really didn't change. So we received this as a present and then promptly forgot it. So fast forward then to 8 years later. Oh, by the way, I've never been able to tell where they got this from. I mean, Obviously, they must have really went to someplace fancy and paid a ridiculous price for it, I would say, don't you think? So yeah, actually, this is really nice. The interesting thing about the Bass Pro Shops logo is that bass is the same bass that is on Lodge's famous wildlife series pan. But anyway, so consider that, as I said, we had received this as a present and forgot about it. Fast forward to 8 years later, where things had changed, and I was cleaning out the apartment, getting ready to move to a new place. And that was when at that time my girlfriend at that time, she used the pseudonym of Morgan Proctor, and more I'm not going to say, at least not on the internet. But suffice to say, she was a pretty good cook herself, and she was really inspiring me to really learn to cook for myself. And I was just really starting to get into that. She helped me to clean out my apartment and find items that really I had no idea whether I should keep or throw out. And so as we were ransacking things, literally in the top shelf of a kitchen cabinet, stuck way in the back, covered with dirt, and it was red with rust. If you see the title photo of this live chat tonight, the thumbnail, that is what it looked like. I pulled that out, and she said to me, "Oh, you want to keep that? That's cast iron." I said, "What, this?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Yeah, you really want to use that." And okay, so because of her, I kept it and brought it to my new place, where, as I said, a month later, I decided to use that cast iron pan for the very first time. I had no idea how to cook in cast iron or even how to cook in general. And that's why I went out and got myself, my memory's vague, but I'm pretty sure I got myself a sirloin steak. I don't believe it was an expensive steak. It was a cheap steak, but hey, it was a steak. And so for the very first time, I cooked in a cast iron pan. I cooked that pan, I heated that pan up dry, did not add any oil or anything at all to it. Just took the bare steak, put it in the pan, and started doing everything wrong with it. I poked and prodded at it. I flipped it probably every few seconds or so because I really had no idea. I was using a fork, and essentially I did it like that. I cooked it on both sides in that manner for about 25 minutes. So I'm pretty sure what I ended up with was a piece of leather. I actually don't even remember that part. However, at this point, I've got to hold up because the fries are, I'll give them about another minute or so. Anyway, as I mentioned, that was how I cooked my very first steak in cast iron. I did everything wrong. However, there was one important detail that really mattered to me. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of fun. I found myself really enjoying myself. And so because of this, I didn't even care about the steak. I don't even remember tasting that steak. I mean, again, I'm betting it was just probably as chewy as leather. And knowing me, I probably drowned it in ground black pepper. And, well, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And that was what I posted on Facebook. So anyway, come back to that in a moment. So that's where I was at that point. Hello, Bookworm73, Raymond, Red Dog, Pilgorn, Andrew Bonificio, Pibgorn, happy cast iron anniversary. Well, thank you. That's why I'm enjoying this tonight. Red Dog, do you have a cast iron teapot? And if so, how do you keep it rust free without getting bad tasting tea? I had a cast iron teapot from Old Mountain, not Red Mountain, but Old Mountain. And yes, it did tend to rust on the inside fairly regularly when I used it for boiling water. Bare cast iron is really not that great for boiling water. And because of this, I have to admit, I chickened out and I ended up getting rid of that teapot for that reason. I don't have a good teapot, and it's a good thing I'm not really a coffee drinker. Because I really don't have a pot for boiling water. I'll get into those enamel Japanese tetsubin in a moment. However, at this point, I do believe the fries are ready. Well, the first step of the fries are ready, actually. They are not crisp. They are not crispy. They're not even brown. They're not even supposed to be. This is the first step, blanching the fries. I think what it really does more than anything else is it helps really cook out, really dry them out on the inside and remove any moisture. Probably has an effect on the starch too, but again, I'm not a food scientist, so I can't really tell all the details. Nonetheless, fries have been blanched, and while we're doing that, I'm going to raise the temperature here. I'm going to say a little bit more about my cast iron wok in a little bit too as well. That has special meaning, definitely. And we're going to raise the temperature to fry these things for real. But meanwhile, the other thing I should do is spread these things out so that, you know, into a single layer. That will help them to cool off. Anyway, that is the first step for making some decent fries, French fries. Freedom fries, if you prefer, although that's not the reason why they call them French fries in the first place. All right. But anyway, as I said, I cooked that steak terrible, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and that's why I posted on my Facebook. A couple of people responded, of course, telling me how I had cooked it all wrong, and I really didn't care because, as I said, I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I remember Morgan had commented about that as well, pointing out, you know, hey, he's all brand new to this. Just let him be and let him learn by himself. Anyway, and here's where the geeky part come in. As I said, I had really enjoyed myself cooking that steak, and it was for that reason I did what any geek does. I went on the internet and started doing research. I started casually Googling things for like cast iron and steak. And that's when I learned some of the basics about cast iron cookware in general, you know, namely that how cast iron is really different from just about any other piece of cookware, how it has such a great history to it, how there's so much meaning to cast iron, why it should be part of every kitchen. And it all appealed to me. I really started finding this fascinating, and that was when I caught the bug, as they called it, cast ironitis. Morgan had definitely influenced me to start learning to cook by myself, but I have to say I caught the cast iron bug myself, and I caught it pretty hard. It was December 16th, and so, of course, only a week after that, well, a week and a half, was Christmas. My parents, of course, chipped in, and they got me an enameled cast iron grill pan from Aldi. The thing was like almost 11 inches wide, and that was my second piece of cast iron. I do not have that one now because I have to admit that as I used it initially, and then finally gained a lot more experience with cooking cast iron, I found that enameled grill pan just didn't appeal to me. I found myself really barely using it at all, and it sat unused in my collection for a good, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years or so before I finally ended up getting rid of it. I know it was a Christmas present, but it really wasn't doing anything. And by that time, I had built my collection up a lot more anyway. So I do not have that piece. However, at that point, I definitely was hooked because I had two. And then it started growing and growing and growing. And I think you know the rest. John Vincent. Okay. Well, okay. I'll say one last thing about my ex. One, it was 10 years ago. Things have long since moved on. It was personal, and I really don't go much for gossiping about people behind their backs anyway. I mean, I'm divorced, yes. That, again, was 9 years ago. I've long since moved on from that. That's one reason why I'm talking about this. It's, I mean, as I said, I'm not feeling any shock or anything like that. I've long since moved on. That was a part of my life. Just like this has been a part of my life for the last 10 years. As a matter of fact, I think 10 years is probably, this is the longest, maybe second longest I've held any hobby. I've had several hobbies, a few of which I got pretty obsessed with, but I don't believe those hobbies lasted a full 10 years. So on the whole, again, maybe it's because I'm working full time, and so this hobby, really, I can't be as obsessed with it as I'd like to be. But regardless, that's just how it is. So don't worry at all about that aspect. It's just something that happened, and that's been a part of me for the last 10 years now. Good thing you held on to the pan. Yeah, no kidding. Like I said, I found it rusty in the back of a cabinet, and I really had no idea what to do with it. But that's how it is. I mean, like a lot of people, as I found, it turns out, what can you say? Cooking in cast iron is a lot of fun. In my case, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, because then that was 2011, and that's when I really wanted to start doing cast iron stuff on the internet, on my Facebook page, on my website. I didn't start with YouTube for probably a year or two after that. But it was, in April of 2011 when I created a new Facebook page. It was originally a page, and it was called Cast Iron Cooking. I'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, try Jared Milky Way. Twice fried, baby. Exactly, twice fried. So, what were the other hobbies? The other hobbies are your typical geek hobbies. Let me see. I'm going backwards from the 90s to the 80s to the 90s. I was a movie buff. I built myself up a big collection of movies on video and Laserdisc and DVD, and I got into all of the stuff that movie buffs get into, following the critics like Pauline Kael, having great following movie directors, Scorsese, Kurosawa, Kubrick, even enjoying things like Buster Keaton's movies, and I'm really glad I did. The classic films are really, really great. And other than that, I can say I've been a science fiction geek, a comic book geek, a role-playing geek. You get the idea. I was pretty much a nerd 100%, all the way up until probably that moment 10 years ago when my life took a right turn. No, there's one other hobby that I had and really devoted myself to for pretty much through the 90s and the 2000s, and that was the Church of the Subgenius as well, which is different, yes. So, we are waiting. Common is. Okay, good point. Anyway, now that I've wasted that much time, I think it's time now to get on with it. As I mentioned already, so now, of course, I've got to celebrate by cooking a steak the right way in my redneck pan. Yeah, that's the other thing. When I showed this photo on my Facebook for the first time, it was Mom who quipped, "You might be a redneck if." And it was because of her that this became my redneck pan, and that's what I call it ever since. I have a second pan heating up on the stove here, which I have shown before, and that is the Red Mountain number 7 pan. It's already, I can see it's already burning the seasoning on this, so we're definitely getting hot enough to sear a steak. And let me say as well, here are the steaks. These are ribeyes, in fact, not sirloin this time. I was tempted to do sirloin, but I fell for temptation, decided to go with ribeye. I got myself a couple of 1 pound ribeyes, one for myself and one for my roommate, fair it's fair. And this time I prepared these. This morning, I uncovered them, coated them lightly with kosher salt, and mine with ground pepper. And they've been sitting on this rack in the fridge for about the past 11 to 12 hours or so. So, in an attempt to marinate them and dry them out. So, what can I say now? But we are going to cook this steak the right way. And and by the way, before you say, yes, I know about the reverse sear. I have used the reverse sear, and it does great for things like really thick cuts of meat, roasts, for instance. But for a steak, I'm still happy with doing it in a cast iron pan. And that's why we have one other essential to go with this, and that, of course, would be a thermometer. I mean, if you really want to get your steak right, you've got to cook it right. Oh, did I just time out? Somehow, I always do something. I had some oil, and of course, just now I bumped it and spilled it all over the counter. Something always seems to happen. All right. There we go. Of course, that also means now I've got to get more oil. Had it sitting here, I was prepared and everything, but no, I had to bump it. What else? What else do you expect? Give me 1 second. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, for this I am using corn oil. I've had a lot of good luck using corn oil for my steaks. It has a nice high smoke point, and the smoke, while it still produces smoke, it doesn't produce quite as much. So from here, it's nice and simple. All we have to do now is add it to the pans, and we are ready to roll. As you can see, they're getting nice and smoky. So turn up the heat just a little bit more. By the way, my stove is only at 6 at this point. I mean, that shows you how easy it is to heat up a cast iron pan on an electric stove. And having said that, away we go. Oh yeah, that's more. This is right near the mic, so you definitely heard that sizzle. In fact, I think it's time to get a close-up of these steaks. Here comes the roller coaster. Yeah, always something. As always, thank you for your patience while I adjust this poorly. At last. There we are. We've got two nice thick ribeyes. Both of them look like they're more than 1 inch thick. And of course, I did forget something else. However, we're right about the point. Oh, one other thing. I'm using Jeff Rogers' method, which is the constant flip method. I am flipping these steaks about every minute. Come on. There we go. All right. Of course, I forgot something else. And that would be the aromatic and the butter. No matter what, I always forget something, specifically some rosemary and, of course, the butter. Meanwhile, you can get a rib roast $5.95 here in Central Florida. Oh, yeah. Huh. Nice. These ribeyes were something like about $9 a pound. That was boneless. If I got it bone in, it probably would have been $8 a pound. Pawpaw Dan, you're cooking steak tonight. Well, congratulations. So, um, sorry to hear about. Um, sorry about the difficulty with your connection. All right, now we get to it once again. And as I mentioned, we're going to be cooking by temperature. I know there's no way these thick steaks are anywhere close to done at this point. Yeah, this thing is only at about 70 to 75 degrees. But anyway, maybe I should just do a repeating video loop of these steaks sizzling in the pan. You know how on Christmas morning now a lot of people play videos of a fireplace. Maybe on Christmas morning I should just do a repeated loop of this. Anyway, this of course is what I did not do 10 years ago. So as much as I enjoyed cooking that steak, I'm very much enjoying cooking these. And we are definitely starting to build ourselves up a nice crust too. My oven has not been level. That's why I've got to do this every so often. Just keep what you're doing what you're doing. Well, it's all I can do. I mean, everything here, as I've said already, I'm self-taught. I am no professional. I'm never going to be a professional. I will certainly be an amateur for my whole life. But even as I was back then, I'm having fun and enjoying it. It really means a lot to, what can I say? Know that people enjoy watching these things. So thank you everybody for that. But I'll get into that later. Oh yeah. The whole house smells like steak. And this is a bad thing. How? Come on. All right, let's see if we have any change at all in the steak. At this point, well, we are at 88. So we are making an improvement, I'll say that much. This one here actually is at about 100 to 105. Yeah, that's the thing about that BSR skillet. And this is one reason. Oh, good. This is getting up there too. But that BSR, as I mentioned, that BSR number 7, I have given that pan the nickname of lightning because that thing it really heats up fast and it cooks steaks and other things lightning fast. It also has casting flaws on the bottom. I think they call it sand shift. That actually looks like lightning on the bottom of the pan. They are definitely not cracks. This is a nice, sturdy, solid pan. It is getting around 100 years, well, 90 to 100 years old, too. I'd need an outdoor kitchen before our house turns black from all the smoke. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Believe me. What are your thoughts on Lodge Blackrock? As a matter of fact, the potatoes roasting in the oven right now are being roasted in a Blackrock skillet. I enjoy it very much. I love the way it feels. It's as light as a Griswold. It's thin. It's easy to handle, and it has the right shape too. I use it as a chef's skillet. I have a 10-inch Blackrock, which I use as a chef's skillet, and it is indeed. As a chef skillet goes, I could probably call it everything you could ask for. And I have said previously, and I continue to say, that yes, modern day lodge does have a rougher surface, which is intentional. You do not need to grind a pan to a glass smooth surface in order for it to be non-stick. I have not had any sticking problems at all with any of my lodge pans, never mind the black lock. I mean, you don't see any sticking with this steak, do you? Speaking of which, I do believe it's getting close to that time that is, to throw in some rosemary. No, that's it. Yeah. Oh, actually. Yeah. Because, as you know, are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Interesting. I didn't expect that popping. Obviously, it's the moisture in the herbs. But having done that, we get into the next thing. And that, of course, would be some butter. On. There they are. I have been a clumsy person all my life, and that has certainly not changed since I learned how to cook. All I can say is I do my best. Come on. It would probably help as well if I was using the right utensil on this. There, finally. One other thing. I've got to take a picture. Because this is for posterity. And at this point, we are getting close. Oh yeah, we're definitely getting close, all right. One more flip. That sure didn't take long, did it? Come on, there we go. Having done that, at this point, we should probably be getting it out of there. Because yes, it is that quick and easy to cook a steak. I think I get bigger plates, in fact. Most of those live videos don't show you things like that. These constant little mistakes. So, nonetheless, one and 2. Oh yes, one other thing. Take it and give it a foil tint. Nonetheless, once again, thank you for your patience here, waiting while nothing's happened other than that shot of the pan. However, now we get down to the next one, which is the wok once again. I just bought 6. Okay, what do we have here? Dr. Full. I just bought 6 Griswold cast irons, number 3, 4, and 5. What do I cook in them? They are so small. You can cook individual things. You can cook eggs. You can cook individual cornbreads, cookies. The number 5 actually is a great size as well, as anybody will tell. How long does it take for a cast iron to blacken? Not very long. All you really need to do is use it a few times. Ever notice how cooking videos, a tablespoon of butter or salt looks like so much more? Yeah, as you can see, I was kind of eyeballing it there, and that was hardly a tablespoon. Probably a lot more than that, in fact. But nonetheless, time now to get these things back into the oil. Gotta do this nice and careful. I'm not interested in burning myself. All right. Anyway, very much appreciate everybody who's stuck around so far. Jared Milkaway, no, Peg, no problem. Ever notice how cooking? No, we said that already. I cook rack of lamb in my large 12-inch. Comes out fantastic. Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I'd love to see photos of that. That's why I love the cast iron cooking group. But actually, I guess that gets back to what I said. As I mentioned, let me see. After Christmas of 2010, I became hooked on cast iron, and that was after my parents got me that enameled grill pan from Aldi. Shortly after that, it was in January of 2011 that I was looking on Amazon for more cast iron. I mean, at this point, I really felt like I wanted to do still more cooking in cast iron, and I finally made the decision of which cast iron pan I was actually going to get for myself, and that turned out to be this, the Lodge cast iron wok. I had received an Amazon gift certificate or Amazon gift card for Christmas in 2010, and I used it to buy this this Lodge cast iron wok from Amazon. That was going on almost 10 years ago now. Like I said, January of 2011. So next month will be the 10-year anniversary of this wok, which has barely left my stove over the past 10 years. I use this thing constantly. From the beginning, when I was first learning how to use cast iron, I use it probably maybe about once a week at the minimum. There's always something you can use a cast iron wok for, and I find it to be an immensely useful utensil. I mean, after all, what am I doing in it right now? I'm deep frying. And because of the sloped sides of the wok, it uses somewhat less oil than if I were using a Dutch oven. So there's a good reason to do some deep frying right there. And so many things you can make in this. You can make stir fries. I mean, of course, stir fries alone make this wok worth the price. I've used it for making dulce de leche, that wonderful, wonderful Latin American or Spanish sweet And I mean, see, I've used this to make really biscuits and gravy. A lot of things you can make in a cast iron skillet, you can make in a cast iron wok. I don't know if the steaks would do so well because, the sloping sides, but a lot of things you can make in a skillet, you can just as easily do in a wok, and maybe even better because the high sides, of course, help to keep a lot of splatter out. So this was the third piece of cast iron that I owned. The first one I had actually made an effort to buy for myself. Shortly after that, again, I was starting to get bitten by the bug. Shortly after that, I decided to make another investment for myself. And again, this was from Amazon. A lot of my early purchases in those days were from Amazon because Amazon had good deals, good prices. Better, unfortunately, than Lodge's website. How do you prepare your potatoes to make good French fries? Peg tooth. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I'm actually not using the right potatoes. I'm using russets, but it looks like they're turning out just fine anyway. The best potatoes are probably Yukon Gold or yellow potatoes. I think white potatoes would also work well as well because they maintain their firmness and they're still very starchy. Anyway, the steps for making really good French fries are not that hard. You do not even have to peel them. In this case, I did. But if, for instance, you were making poutine in Canadian fries, they don't peel the potatoes there. Anyway, what you do is it's a simple process. One, of course, you peel the potatoes. Well, again, that's optional. So next, you cut them up into, fries. The next step is you soak them in cold water for an hour or two. That helps to remove a lot of the starch, and that's really a key point. After that, you take them out of the water, you lay them out on a sheet, and you dry them thoroughly. You can pat them down with paper towels and let them rest for a while. You want to get these things nice and dry. At that point, they will then be ready for frying, and that's a two-step process. Namely, number one, as you saw a few minutes ago, first you blanch them, meaning that you bring your oil up to a lower temperature, like maybe 250 to 300 degrees. And all you have to do is fry them in that oil for maybe about 10 minutes or so. As I said, I think that actually helps to remove a lot more of the moisture from the fries. Then you take them out, let them cool off. Raise the oil temperature to your usual frying temperature, like 350 degrees or a little more, and you fry them for the second and last time. These do look like they are turning out nice and golden right now. And the nice thing about fries is you can tell that they're done when they start to float. I guess that's why they call them fries. So all told, these probably only have maybe a few more minutes or so. But yeah, making fries really is pretty easy. And in fact, there's no reason not to. When you get yourself a bag of frozen fries or frozen tater tots at the supermarket, I know they always say to cook them in the oven. If you were to take those frozen tater tots carefully, because they do have moisture, and put them in hot oil, you would be able to fry yourself up a nice batch of fries that way. Well, again, that's the joy of deep frying. Can you soak them in a brine? I never have. I would think that you probably could, although that would have to be during the first part. When it said soak them in cold water, maybe if you added some spices or something to it at that point, I suppose. I have never tried that. Of course, it's this point here. Once they come out of the oil and they're still piping hot, that's when you want to hit them with your spices. You don't want them to cool off. You want to salt these and add any other spices you want pretty much immediately after you take them out of the oil. Buffering really bad. Oh, I'm sorry, Raymond. Is anybody else seeing this? I'm really hoping that it's not my connection that's locked up. Of course, on the other hand, I do have to say, okay, thank you, Joe Brown. Thank you. On the other hand, I do have to say, I am in New England, and any moment we are about to get hit by that gigantic nor'easter blizzard that is going to come and destroy the East Coast and sweep it all and bury everything in the next ice age. You know how it goes. The first storm of the season, and it's like the news always hypes it up. Here it comes, the first snowstorm. And this one apparently is going to be a pretty nice blizzard, too. So because of this, this is becoming like, again, the next ice age. Oh, no, heaven forbid. It's New England. It's December. We've never had a snowstorm in December in New England before. So all I can say is, in fact, I have the window open, because, of course, I have to take care of all that smoke from the steaks. So we have just been battening down the hatches here for our first blizzard of the season. And there's, of course, been the usual panic buying at the supermarket. But that's all done at this point. And really, all we have to do now is just wait. And we will be done. And the snow will come. And it will go. And we will dig ourselves out. Hopefully no one will be hurt. Yes. So, anyway, regarding my story, as I said, I made it as far as January of 2011 when I bought the Lodge cast iron wok. After that, I decided to make another investment for myself, and that was when I bought my first cast iron Dutch oven, again from Lodge. You see a pattern developing here? In fact, it was the Lodge Double Dutch Oven. And that, of course, is the one that has the Lodge 5-quart Dutch oven on the bottom, and it has the deep skillet lid as a cover. And man, did I ever enjoy that. I mean, it was my first real cast iron Dutch oven, and I learned how to make chicken and rice and a whole bunch of things in that. It was at that point when I pretty much learned that recipe that I've pushed again and again. That would be Dutch oven chicken and rice, the one where really it's no more than just preparing rice in a Dutch oven, adding chicken, and cooking it. And you end up with some wonderful cooked chicken and some wonderful rice with, of course, the rice pagao, that caramelized rice crust. When I discovered what pagao was, yes, I was hooked on that. Charles Miller says, just bought a wok, not cast iron. Hope it works on an electric stove. If one thing with an electric stove, you absolutely need to have a flat bottom wok. A round bottom wok will not work on an electric stove, even if you have a wok ring, which of course is useful for using a wok on a gas burner. But really, it's like it really depends on how much of the burner is actually contacting the bottom of the wok. And that's why with an electric stove, you absolutely need a flat bottom wok. That's also why I find this heavy cast iron wok here to work much better on an electric stove. I mean, a typical light wok, the kind where you can toss the food around, that really doesn't work on an electric stove. So these are things that, well, you do need to take into consideration if you are looking to buy a wok. And Adam says it works great on an electric stove. I'm hoping that would be the Lodge wok, because it certainly does. Dr. Full again. How does this one Griswold have a silver metal finish on it still? Looks unseasoned and uncooked. Oh, it sounds like you got yourself a plated Griswold. If you look around for plated, you will see that Griswold did that. They plated some of their cast iron in either chrome or nickel or both. I have never been a real detailed expert at Griswold, I'm afraid. There are a lot of other experts at Griswold. But in other words, they did just that. They did give it a chrome or plated finish in that they actually put a plate of metal over it. However, though that plating did eventually wear off, whether it was nickel or chrome. I would presume chrome probably wore off faster than the metal. Oh, which reminds me. Okay, I hope I haven't overdone it. In fact, excuse me, I've got to move this and get this out of the oven. I really hope I haven't ruined those baked potatoes. This isn't going to work because I probably should have taken them out of the oven almost half an hour ago. Oops. Well, let's see what happens. Oh, actually, hey, these don't look so bad, do they? That doesn't look bad at all. I deliberately did not put an X or poke any holes in these things. I'll put it over here because that's hot. But now that we've done that, there we go, back to this view again. Once again, thank you for your putting up with the roller coaster here. But let me get that thing out one more time. So yeah, these look like some pretty good baked potatoes. And yes, I have to admit, I got this idea from Martha Stewart, and I'm going to give this a try. In that once these things come out of the oven and they cool off a little bit, you're actually supposed to smash them down. You don't slice them. You don't even cut into them. You're supposed to smash them down. And apparently that will give it a nice fluffy interior. By this time, meanwhile, while I've been waiting, the steaks should be done. I mean, I've been talking all this time. I don't see any reason why we couldn't try one of these steaks. So, let me clean up my mess a little bit here. I mean, I made such a mess here. Throw a couple of these things away. And once we've done that, we can get down to the business. Cleaning up the rest of the spilled oil. My bad. And then after that, we get to cut into a steak and see how it looks. And I'm hoping that my roomie is watching because that would mean that her supper is done. There we go. Thank you again for your patience. Meanwhile, as you know, you're just watching right now Deep Fry Cam, which is not so bad. You have been watching Fry Cam. There we go. All right. Good enough. Yeah. Because now, at long last, this is it. By the way, even though I've been talking so long because I've had this thing tinted, steak is still nice and warm. It actually still has a little bit of steam coming from it. Now, of course, comes the moment of truth. Nice steak knife. This I got on my New York trip. So let's see what happens. I know the grill is ready. Once the snow is melted off, that's about right. Well, no time like the present. Let's see what we have for a steak. Gonna cut right through it. That's why I like this thing. And on my steak, well, I'd say that doesn't look too bad. Might be getting more towards medium. It's definitely medium, in fact. But nonetheless, still nothing to complain about. I think I may have very, very slightly overdone it. But then again, I understand that's how my roomie likes these. So, yes, yours is there on the counter. Mine has pepper. Yours doesn't. So if you like, we can try yours.
Yeah, because that's what I've been dealing with.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. See that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a little on edge right now.
I understand.
Yeah.
So I understand Trouble has been living up to his name then.
Oh, he is totally living up to his namesake, 100%.
All right. Well, may I do one thing and just show off your steak on cam?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and then that'll be it.
Go ahead.
Let's see how yours looks. I hope so. That one actually looks pretty nice as well. Yeah, both of these are definitely medium. I will have to say that. I was aiming for medium rare, and I think I may have just very slightly overdid it. But I would not call that anything to complain about.
The thing about a steak is kind of gotta take it off. Like, so if you're looking at it, so you can't take it off when it looks medium rare. You have to take it off right before it looks medium rare. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because as it sits, it's gonna finish cooking.
But
So
nonetheless, if you'd like to try it and see
Yeah.
how it turns out, I mean, that's the important thing. How does it taste?
delicious.
Anyway. Alright, having done all that, okay, yeah, I've got to try it. There he goes again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Sorry for the delay here, folks. And then I'll do this, and then I'll get back to the chat because
Mine's perfect. Look at.
Oh, you like yours?
Well, I wouldn't have to say. I wouldn't say that is. Look at.
Oh. Oh yeah. Yours is definitely medium, which is what you wanted.
No, that's close to medium rare. It's not. That's that's good and pink in the middle.
Oh yeah. Ribeye. Pardon me for having an orgasm on camera, folks. Need a separate plate for the fries. Yeah, you're not kidding.
All right, I'm gonna look this up here.
And that's the last thing we'll do.
I like football.
Now that I've wasted all this time now to return one last time to the fries. Wow, we're already at almost an hour too. Well, as always, I appreciate everybody waiting. I'd say these fries should certainly be done. So, yes, indeed.
You know what? Tonight seems like a good night to really just irritate somebody.
Well, maybe he knows it's my anniversary.
Maybe. He's looking at me. He's like, hey, Papa, watch this.
Yes.
When I see something funny, it's really funny when there's this vein that pops out of her forehead.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Turn this heat down, off, and off. And now for the last of it. All right. Having done that, as I mentioned, immediately when they come out, that's when you got to hit them with salt. And now we have got ourselves some fries. I used peanut. No, did I? No, I used corn oil for that. All right. Now then, once again, those two potatoes in the back watching their brothers being fried. Oh, yeah. Say no to hockey pucks. Well, no, it does not look like hockey pucks. I'll say that much. So, yeah, I think that's the last thing. We should try one of those baked potatoes and see how it turns out. And then, after that, we may be all set, although I know that there are a couple of other questions on the chat. So, let's bring this up again. Might as well use this. And let's get one of those potatoes, shall we? Hot potato, hot potato. Okay, this baked for, well, it turned out almost an hour and a half at 400 degrees, but hey, it's not burned. It actually looks pretty good. So now, according to Martha Stewart, we're supposed to do this. Now that we've done that, where did that fork go? There it is. What we have here is, well, it's a nice big potato. That much I can say. I certainly would not have any complaints about this. Hey, this is actually not bad. So far, so good, I'd say. All right, now, thank you again. All right, cigarettes on the counter next to the cooking fries. Oh, that. I'll apologize for that. That's only because she rolls her own cigarettes. Okay. What is your roomie's favorite cast iron item? I would say her favorite cast iron item is probably the Blacklock, followed by, or maybe equaled by, the enameled 9x13 cast iron casserole dish. Yeah. Oh, yes. Then after that, actually, it would be the aluminum Dutch oven. Okay, then. What? No brown? Throw those fries back in for another day. Yeah, I know I'm tempted to, but they've gone long enough. And I have to say, this is actually still a nice quality fry here. Not bad, actually. Does seasoning on cast iron build up over time if you keep seasoning it? Yes, it does. But a much more fun way to season cast iron is to cook with it. And that is definitely what I would recommend. That once you've gotten the initial seasoning on your cast iron pan, go ahead and start using it. You use it regularly, and that is what will really make your pan nice and black and non-stick and everything else. It's really the best way to do it is to just keep on using it. Danny Gaspard, I have a cast iron tea kettle with a gate mark. No idea the manufacturer. Gate mark means it was made before the 1930s? Oh, definitely. Most, not all, but most of those gate mark pans probably date to the 19th century, in fact. Those tea kettles in particular some of them seem to be really old. So this could run anywhere from the 1850s on up to the early 20th century. Although, if it looks more professionally done, then that may date it a little later to likely the later 19th century or early 20th century. Okay, what do we have here? Going a little further back, gate marks are usually early castings. Steak, yes. Yeah, I'm actually still have no complaints about it. I mean, yes, I was aiming for medium rare, I admit that. But yeah, a medium steak, I'm not going to complain at all. And I'm not going to have any problem finishing this off. Definitely not. And my cats are indeed really going crazy. I can see why, what she's talking about. But still, at this point, we are actually getting close to it because, I mean, after all, it has been over an hour at this point. I've only gotten to the part as well where, as I mentioned, I'd bought 3 cast iron items, because then after that, as I mentioned, I started, that was when really the addiction started growing. And my cast iron collection went from 3 pieces to 4 to 7 to 9 and on and on and on. As I mentioned, it was in April of 2011 that I created a Facebook page, which later became a group called Cast Iron Cooking. And I think I can get into that at another time, actually, probably when we run into the 10th anniversary of the Cast Iron Cooking Group. And I started going to flea markets as well in 2011 and made some great scores. So Where are your two cats? Well, right now, Miss Mobley is busy eating some of her dry food, whereas Trouble is playing around with what looks like a twist tie. So they are indeed keeping busy, keeping busy themselves. Still, okay. At this point, I really don't have much else to say, largely because here we go. I think we prefer this view than the other. Because, well, as I mentioned, again, it was 10 years ago tonight that I cooked in a cast iron pan for the first time. It was a lot of fun. It definitely helped me to not only catch the cooking bug, but the cast iron bug, and it has grown from there. As I really hope it has grown for a lot of people. I do know over the past 10 years, cast iron has really made a big comeback for a lot of people. What can I say? Because we all know there are a lot of great reasons for it. It's really so in a way, 10 years ago this night, my life changed. And I like to think it changed for the better because, after all, we all need to cook. And this is a hobby. And whether or not I keep this hobby, as I certainly intend to, but whether or not this hobby stays, I will at least have gained one valuable skill, and that I pride myself now in being able to cook. And that is, even these days, where everything is easy and takeout and processed and microwavable, it's still a really, really essential skill to have. I've lost control of my cast iron collection. You and me both. What can I say? It's really gone from this to what I have now. Process Bird 17. I found your channel yesterday. Today I went to a local thrift store and found a vintage Lodge number 5. Congratulations. Now you've been bitten, and you will soon find yourself with cast ironitis. But a Lodge number 5 is really great for many things, not the least of which would be making individual cornbreads, individual even eggs and bacon, and even a smaller steak, a steak smaller than the one that I made tonight. So you will definitely get a lot of use out of it, and you will not regret it. Let the steak come up to room temperature before you cook it. Yes, that is a good saying indeed. Yeah, I think I have the sickness. Well, this is the place to come and get down with the sickness. I thank CIC for influencing me to keep them. Oh, well, for better or for worse. I hope you don't regret it over time. And having said all that, well, I've got to get down and enjoy a steak anyway. And nonetheless, though, as always, I can only appreciate everybody who has shown up. Even a grilled cheese sandwich, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Thank you very much for letting me indulge myself, cooking these steaks and talk about that night 10 years ago. And I have all of you to thank, really, for helping me enjoy this channel so much. And of course, I have Jessica to thank for inspiring me to head down this path, and a lot of other people to thank as well, just for making this all so much fun. Not the least of which would be Lodge Cast Iron. All right, I think we are all set here for tonight, folks. And as always, I can only appreciate everybody who has shown up and stayed here. So thank you to Santis309 with COVID-19. Well, here's hoping you get well soon, and please recover completely. And Bookworm73, Malik Harris, Pegtooth, thank you very much for everyone for showing up. And we will do this all again next Wednesday, 2 days before Christmas. Talk to you later, folks. Have a good evening. There we go. Well, I actually